The answer to these questions is clear once you know how a cell functions. To carry out life processes, a cell must be able to quickly pass substances into and out of the cell. For example, it must be able to pass nutrients and oxygen into the cell and waste products out of the cell. Anything that enters or leaves a cell must cross its outer surface. It is this need to pass substances across the surface that limits how large a cell can be. So let's look at the two cubes in this figure. As the figure shows, a larger cube has less surface area relative to its volume than a smaller cube. Let's take a closer look at that. Looking at the smaller cube, SA stands for surface area, and for the smaller cube, the surface area is 6. V stands for volume. For the smaller cube, the volume is 1. The surface area to volume ratio is surface area divided by volume. Ratio means division, so the surface area to volume ratio division is dividing surface area by the volume. In this case, for the smaller cube, it is 6 divided by 1. Well, what do you get when you divide 6 by 1? You get 6. For the larger cube, even though it's larger, it has a larger surface area and a larger volume as expected. Notice the surface area is 54 and the volume's 27. But when you divide 54 by 27, the surface area to volume ratio, you get 2. So the smaller cube has more surface area to volume than the larger cube. Even though the surface area and volume are larger, the smaller cube has a higher ratio. This relationship also applies to cells. The larger cell has less surface area relative to its volume than the smaller cell. A cell with a larger volume also needs more nutrients and oxygen and produces more waste. Because all of these substances must pass through the surface of the cell, a cell with a large volume will not have enough surface area to allow it to meet its needs. The larger the cell is, the smaller the ratio of surface area to volume, and the harder it will be for the cell to get rid of wastes and to take in necessary substances. This is what limits the size of a cell. Cells must be small in order to take in enough nutrients and get rid of waste at a rate that's fast enough to keep the cell alive. The larger it gets, the slower that becomes. Cells with different functions often have different shapes. In this image are a few examples of the many different shapes that cells may have. Each type of cell in the figure has a shape that helps it do its job. For example, the job of the nerve cell is to carry messages to other cells. The nerve cell has many long extensions that reach out in all directions, allowing it to pass messages to many other cells at once. Do you see the tail-like projections on the algae cells? Algae live in water, and their tails help them swim. Pollen grains have spikes that help them stick to insects, such as bees. How do you think the spikes help the pollen grains do their job?